Oh yeah, is it Saturday already? Have we made it through yet another week of Star Wars news and, of course, the end of the Acolyte show? As, of course, on Tuesday, it released, and on Thursday we talked about it, but we're going to talk more a little bit about that finale, and we're going to rank where this Acolyte show lines up with the rest of Star Wars live action and animation television series on Disney Plus. So let's dive into all of it. What's up, guys? How's everybody doing on this fine Saturday afternoon? We're a little bit early today. We just had to do it, just had to do it, but that's for other reasons. Let's talk about this Acolyte show, okay? Now we have to talk about it as a whole. The show has come to an end. So finally we can talk about the Acolyte show as a first season, as there might be a second season on the way, but we'll get to that. We're going to be ranking up all of the Star Wars television seasons, from all the way the Clone Wars, all the way up through Star Wars Rebels and animation, and the Bad Batch and animation, and then live action shows like The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, Andor, and of course, The Acolyte. We're going to see where it lines up with all of our other shows, and we're going to rank them all together as a chat. And we do have some crazy Star Wars news when it comes to Star Wars movies. Now with The Acolyte show being over, we got to talk about what's to come next. Skeleton Crew is going to end this year for Star Wars television, but Star Wars movies are coming. The Star Wars, where it's supposed to be on the big screen, is coming back. Now we got the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, we got the Dawn of the Jedi movie, we got a Dave Filoni movie, we got a Rey movie, we got a Shawn Levy movie, and we got some big news about that. But first, before we get to any of that, I want to start with this this article that comes from Screen Rant, okay? It comes from Screen Rant, and it talks about the 20 biggest retcons and changes that the Acolyte made to the Star Wars canon. And we're going to go through this because a lot of fans were really upset about some of the decisions that they made with this Acolyte show. And certain retcons, again, I'm going to put that in quotations every time because this Acolyte show did not retcon anything! But certain retcons that this Acolyte show had, and we're going to go through that first. But even before I get to that, I'm all over the place this morning. Even before we get to that, let's say hi to everybody in the chat. All right, let me open up this chat. Robert, what's up? Brandon, how we doing? Tiffany, how we doing? Jack Robbins in the house. Chris, what is up? Dodger, what is up? Brandon, how we doing? Fearless, what is up? Mando United. Austin Snow. Light Lord, J1DRZ, Star Wars for Life, Trent, how we doing? Lobo, how we doing? If I missed you, just yell at me in the chat. You know the deal. There's a bunch of you just typing, so it's really hard to keep up here. Austin Snow, what is up? Did I already say that? I don't know. Lauren, how we doing? Thomas, what is up? Freddie, how we doing? Okay. If I missed you, you know the deal. Yell at me in the chat. Okay. Let's start with a poll. If you have not yet smashed a freaking like on this stream, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for, but let's start with a poll, okay? And that poll is, do you want a season 2 of The Acolyte? This conversation has been going mad online, on Twitter comment sections, on YouTube comment sections, on Instagram comment sections, on MySpace comment sections, on Pac-Man comment section, wherever you look, there's a conversation about whether or not this Acolyte show should get a season 2 or not. And Star Wars fans have very strong opinions, as we know, so let's hear yours. Do you think this Acolyte show should get a second season? Yes or no? Let's hear it. Does Pac-Man have comments? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know. Mr. Revenge says, Venestra's head on the light spire pike? What? Oh, lightsaber spike on a lightsaber. What the hell? What are you talking about? Okay, let's go to this article right away as we keep that poll up. I want to see what you guys are talking about there. But let's read this. Let me pull this up here. Let me pull this up over here before we get to this ranking. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. So, the 20 biggest retcons and changes that the Acolyte made to the Star Wars canon. So, let's take a look at this. 20. The Acolyte revealed another Zygerian Jedi. Not a retcon. But still cool. This was in episode 1, I believe. And this was Master Yord's apprentice or Padawan, maybe? I don't really even remember. But we don't see her for the rest of the show. We see these guys in the Clone Wars and in Rebels a little bit too. Yeah. But that's the one we saw in the Acolyte. Okay. 19, sorry. The Jedi Temple on Coruscant looks different than before the prequel trilogy. Again, a change, not a retcon. It looks a little different. As we know, the Jedi Temple goes through changes. And this is what it looks like in... Why did it not show us in the prequel trilogy? I guess this is what it looks like in the prequel trilogy. I don't know why I chose that image, but yes, it is a lot more golden in this golden age of the Jedi Order. 18. Mirelians, sure, are a longer living race than we once thought. Venestra Row is over 100 years old. There's no photos there. Oh, there we go. There it is. So we didn't really know how old Venestra Row was going to be. We didn't know that she could live up to over 100 years old, and this is clear as she is alive. Oh, well, this is Bear Safi and other ones that we've seen in Star Wars, but she's alive over 100 years after the events of when she first arrives in the High Republic books. 17. Anakin Skywalker was not the first being created with the Force. Now, this was just, again, an assumption. This is not a change to anything that was established in Star Wars canon. Why are the images not loading? Why are they not loading? I don't know. But, again, a change. Oh, there it is. Why does it do that? Okay. So we found out in the finale that May and Osha were both created by the Force. Mother Anisea is one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, and she's able, with the vergence of the Force on Brendock and her Force abilities, and being that she is a witch and can use magic, she is able to create Force beings. Now, this is actually kind of misleading because Anakin Skywalker being created by the Force... Yes, we assume that's what's going on here, but we don't really know. But we'll keep going. Number 16. The Jedi Council... Let's see if I just scroll down here. Aha, see, I've figured it out. If I scroll past it, I think the... Oh, maybe not. Okay. The Jedi Council didn't always have absolute authority in the Order. I mean, what is this list? Let's be real. What is this list? What is this list? Did we assume that the Jedi Order, the Jedi Council, I should say, always had authority over every single Jedi in the entire Order? That there wasn't secret missions going on every once in a while? I don't like this list. 15 says, Ki-Adi-Mundi is over 100 years old in The Phantom Menace. This is true. Okay, so this is a big one that Star Wars fans have been yapping about over the last couple weeks since we've seen Ki-Adi-Mundi in episode 4 of this show. Load, god damn it. Okay. Ki-Adi-Mundi, over 100 years old in The Phantom Menace. In Legends, Ki-Adi-Mundi has a birthday, and that birthday would make him not be alive during the events of this Acolyte show. However, Legends is Legends, and that is not canon. And here we are today with Ki-Adi-Mundi alive. I don't know why the hell it's not loading. It's really pissing me off, but we'll keep going. 14. Chimere brought back Legends Force powers. Chimere's proper Sith introduction in the Acolyte episode 4 and 5 demonstrates his power and brought back the Force ability from Legends timeline. Throughout the series, Chimere could control his levitation so well that he could appear to be flying. Similar to Count Dooku in the Clone Wars 2D micro-series that was released in 2003, he's seemingly immune to stun beams as well, something characters like Revan or Corran Horn could do in Legends. So yes, a lot of Legends aspects from Legends stories were brought into canon with this Acolyte show, and this is one of them. Being able to sort of just fly down or float down. When he first appears in episode 4, he floats down from like a tree, and that's something we saw in the 2003 micro-series from the Clone Wars that is now Legends with Count Dooku. Number 13, the Acolyte brought back Cortosis, a massive lightsaber weakness. So Cortosis was really cool. It was the ore that was sort of explored with Chimere's helmet and his gauntlet thing that he had on his arm. And we saw sort of a vein of Cortosis in the rocks in the Unknown Planet where they were on the Unknown Planet. But this is a ore that temporarily disables lightsabers for a few seconds. And it's something really cool, very similar to like a Beskar, but it's actually not as strong as Beskar. It's resistant to lightsabers, but it's more shuts down the lightsabers, where Beskar is actually able to stop a lightsaber for a long period of time. Sith helmets can be used to prevent Jedi telepathy. So this is a little bit misleading, as Kymir's helmet is again made of cortosis. So some Sith helmets probably are not able to do this. Like, I don't think Vader's probably is, as his is made from a different metal entirely. But yeah. The Acolyte introduced a treacherous new Sith lightsaber. This is pretty cool. I don't know why, again, the image isn't loading. But Kymir's lightsaber was pretty damn cool. We've seen double-bladed lightsabers. We've seen sort of a dual-wield lightsaber. We've seen the Darkseid Rey in Rise of Skywalker with that, like, switchblade type double-bladed lightsaber. We've seen a lot of different cool lightsabers. The Crossguard with Kylo Ren. We've seen a lot. But this one from Kymir was pretty damn cool, if I do say so myself. The way that he can just twist it off and it becomes two is pretty damn cool. That was awesome. Number 10. The Sith were nearly discovered before the Phantom Menace. Not a change, not a retcon. Nearly discovered is like saying, I almost won the lottery. That's, yeah, again, not a fan of this list. Number 9 says, the forbidden lightsaber from Taraka, sure, is now Star Wars canon. While turning off one's lightsaber seems unwise for combat, an entire lightsaber form was dedicated to it in Legends. So this involved quickly turning on a lightsaber, turning off a lightsaber and turning it back on, which Kymir uses multiple times in the Acolyte show. Both Jedi and Sith tended to avoid this in Legends, with the former finding it dishonorable, and the latter seeing it as a sign of weakness. So the turning on and off of lightsabers very quickly. We actually see Soul use that too in the finale, probably kind of using his own medicine against him. But yeah, that was in Legends, and it wasn't really used by Sith or Jedi in canon. The Jedi believe they have ways of detecting Force vergences. This is something new because Force vergences are pretty much something new in Star Wars. So this is a change, I guess, because it is something new. And episode 7, I believe, when they're back on Brendok 16 years ago, was really explaining the Force vergences. Yeah, and why they're so important. Every person's midichlorian symbiotes are unique. This was established again in that 7th episode, where the twins had the exact same midichlorian symbiotes, and that made them very, very special. That made them what they are, from the same being. They were split from the same consciousness, which made them very, very important. Number 6 is the Force can literally split one person into two bodies. This, again, comes from that 7th episode with the explanation of what happened with the twins. Yeah. This is a fascinating twist on the Force dyad, they say here. I don't think Osha and May are a Force dyad. I think they want to keep that sort of a sacred thing, or like a very, 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 very rare thing. And having Rey and Kylo be that in the sequel trilogy, is something special that they want to keep for those two characters specifically. Kymir was Venestra Rose Padawan. Again, this is not specifically said. We sort of just imply this. Venestra does say at the end of the episode that a former pupil of hers that turned evil, but that doesn't mean her former Padawan. She could have said that. She could have said my former Padawan turned to the dark side, but she didn't say that. Venestra Rose, very different character from in the Acolyte. I have heard this, and I'm not too sure about it because I didn't really read much of the Venestra Rose character in the books. But Venestra does seem to be a little bit different in this Acolyte show, which kind of makes sense when it's 100 years later. She's probably been through quite a bit. Number 3, the Jedi were involved in a major cover-up. Again, this isn't a retcon. This isn't really a change. This is just the story that we see in the Acolyte show. As yes, Venestra Rose specifically is covering up everything. Number 2, the Jedi lost their autonomy after the Acolyte. Let's see what this is. Despite Venestra Rose hiding the full truth from the Senate, it wasn't enough to stop them from believing that the Jedi needed greater oversight. It is reasonable to assume that this will eventually lead to the Jedi Order having far less independence and serving the Senate directly, as we kind of see them doing in the prequel trilogy a little bit. Yeah. And number 1, Darth Plagueis has returned in Star Wars canon. I really wish the image would come up here, but we do have something to talk about when it comes to Darth Plagueis as well. But let's read this. Without a doubt, the most shocking change in the Star Wars canon was the return of Darth Plagueis the Wise. First mentioned in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Darth Plagueis was Palpatine's Sith master and supposedly capable of creating life by influencing the midichlorians. The now Legends novel Darth Plagueis by James Lucien fleshed out the character's history and made him one of the franchise's most popular Sith Lords. Now that Plagueis has made his first ever appearance in canon, there's no telling what other retcons the Acolyte will make with a potential second season. But again, this is not a retcon. They use that word extremely wrong, as the Darth Plagueis novel is, in fact, as they said here, a Legends novel. But again, Darth Plagueis is pretty damn cool. Seeing him in canon for the first time ever in live action was so damn cool. So damn cool. So again, a bunch of clickbait titles here with the retcons of the Acolyte show, the top 20 retcons of the Acolyte show. None of them were retcons. And by the way, this poll that says, do you want a second season of this Acolyte show? Over 70% of you right now say yes. We'll keep that poll up there for a while and we'll see where it goes from there. But let's catch up on some chat and then we'll start this tier list is what I was looking for there. Yes. Brandon says, Ahsoka and The Mandalorian took my breath away, so that's S tier for me for both. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. The Speculationer says, what do you think about Warner Brothers Warner Brothers and Discovery thinking about splitting up their television business into one company and their streaming business into another company? Why would they do that? What would be the benefits of that? I don't know. I'm not aware. Amanda says, it would be wild not to want another season. We need answers to Chimere's backstory and what will happen moving forward to eventually tie into the original movies. Just need more polished writing. Amanda, I couldn't agree with you more. I thought the writing was great in this show, but I can see why people didn't in certain aspects. But yeah. How could you not want a second season? How could you not want to learn more about the character of Chimere or see where this is going to go? You don't want more Plagueis? You don't want more of the Jedi? You don't want more of this time period in the Star Wars galaxy? Sounds crazy to me. Yeah. Charles, what's up, Charles, says, Star Wars streaming best left to single seasons short story format, in my opinion. Interesting. So let's talk about that. Should Star Wars streaming just be left to short stories? Single season short stories. The Mandalorian is 3 seasons already. Ahsoka has a second season on the way. Andor has a second season on the way. The Acolyte might have a second season on the way. But do you agree with Charles? Do you think that Star Wars television should be left to single individual stories or multiple seasons? When you have a show like The Mandalorian, it deserves multiple seasons. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And if you don't get season 2, you don't get all the greatness that comes with season 2. But then you look at a show like Kenobi. You look at a show like the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, which I don't think should get a second season. Because if you have a second season, then what's the story going to be? There's not enough there. Is it just going to be Obi-Wan training with Qui-Gon? Because he's not supposed to leave the planet again. He's not supposed to confront Vader again. There's not supposed to be the rematch of the century again. So I think it's more of a case of the story being told. Depends on each story. The Andor show definitely should get a second season. Ahsoka should definitely get a second season. The Mandalorian definitely should have gotten a second season like it did. So it kind of depends. It kind of depends. Yeah, for sure. And with the Acolyte, I think it definitely needs a second season. Austin Snow says, I think Venestra and was Chimere's master. I agree. I think Venestra is definitely Chimere's former master, and I want to see how that happened. Because she thought he was dead. The first thing that she says when she senses him is, you're alive. How is that possible? So there was probably some sort of falling out like Anakin and Obi-Wan, where Obi-Wan leaves Anakin to die on Mustafar and thinks he dies on Mustafar. Come to find out, 10 years later, Anakin's still alive, and now he's this very powerful, horrible being in the galaxy. This is very similar to what's happening here with Venestra and Chimere. At some point, Venestra was the master to Chimere. And at some point, some sort of falling out happened where she thought he died. Come to find out he's still alive, and now he's a Sith Lord. Yeah. That needs to be explored in Season 2 for sure. For sure. Starship 66 says, definitely need a second season. I truly enjoyed the first one. I could not emphasize this enough. Season 1 was such a fun time for me. Just speculating every week, watching these episodes. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. Episode 5 and Episode 8 might be two of the best single episodes of Star Wars television we've ever seen. Not the best, but two of the best. Like in that category of the best. I put it up there with From the Desert Comes a Stranger, which is Episode 6 of the Book of Boba Fett. Or The Jedi, which is Episode 5 of The Mandalorian Season 2. Or The Rescue, which is the finale of Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Or the finale of Kenobi. Or Episode 5, which is the Shadow Warrior of the Ahsoka show. Like those episodes. Episode 5 of this Acolyte show, which is titled Night, and Episode 8, which is titled The Acolyte, of the Acolyte show, are up in that conversation. They're up in that top tier of Star Wars content. And that says something here. That's definitely saying something here. Oh my goodness. Lauren with a very generous $10 holla. God damn. Says, I think it would be a bad look for Disney to cancel this show when the majority of the hate for this show is towards Leslie Headland. I wouldn't say it's towards that. And yes, it is definitely a portion of the hate. But a lot of the hate comes from not just Leslie, but the actors and actresses themselves saying what they do in the interviews. A lot of fans were extremely turned off when they listened to the actor who plays Yord say that Anakin blew up the Death Star. It's a mistake that he made, but it's not one that he came out and said, I shouldn't have said that, or my mistake, as far as I'm aware. I feel like we got to get on that. If you're Lucasfilm, your PR team should be like, look, guys, we can't be saying stuff like this. And if you do, it's perfectly fine. It's a mistake. You got to say, oh, my bad. I misspoke, or whatever it may be. And I think the problem with this Acolyte show that a lot of fans had was those interviews with the actors and actresses and Leslie Headland, and the things that they were saying just turned off a portion of the fandom. The show itself, I really do believe if they didn't say a single word, they didn't have any press, they didn't have any interviews, and this show just dropped, fans would have been a lot more positive when it comes to talking about the show. But I agree with you, Lauren, it would be a bad look to cancel this show just because of the hate that comes from the Star Wars, the small portion of the Star Wars fandom. I absolutely agree. It would look like not making Solo 2 because Solo 1 didn't make a lot of money because of The Last Jedi. It would be the wrong decision to make. I absolutely agree. And Lauren, I see what you're saying in the chat too. Absolutely. There are some big YouTube channels that are doing that, and that's completely wrong, and they shouldn't be, but it's sort of just the way that the internet works. Sadly, people get clicks because they get clicks, and they want to be negative to get clicks, and that's just sad. But it is still how the internet works. It's bad, but it is how it works. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the $10 holla too. I appreciate it quite a bit. Super chats, members, best way to support the channel. We have a giveaway coming up next week. Is it next week? Either next week or the following week. At the end of every month, we have a giveaway. If you're a member, you get instant access to that giveaway. So become a member today. And if you want to send a super chat, I will do any Star Wars impression. Not well. I'm bad at impressions, but I will try my best. And you guys know that. And also, there's a Discord in the description below to the people who love Star Wars. So go join that Discord if you are not already in there. Go join that Discord. Okay. Where was I? Darth Pause says, it was a retcon. Little bro. Little bro's funny because I'm 6'5". What was a retcon? Good answer. Okay. John Frag, what's up?
Hello there.
Charles says, I'm totally okay with the new show changing how things look compared to the past. I agree with that, but like this is the past. So things are supposed to look different. Think about it. It's 100 years before the prequel trilogy. Think about what things looked like in the real world 100 years ago. 1924. Nothing was looking the same as it does today. So obviously things are going to look a lot different. That's what I actually liked a lot about the Acolyte show is the new droids, the new ships, the new locations, and just the new look of things like the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, how it looks different from 100 years in the future. Yeah. Indeed. Chris says, still waiting for a retcon. None of these are retcons. Absolutely. That list was 20 fully just list of cool things that happened in this Acolyte show, I guess. I don't know. Freddie B says, Sith full of shit? What? Sidious told Anakin a dream, and he had fell for it. I don't know what you're referring to here. Charles says, so few on the Jedi Council, it's hard to believe they controlled thousands of Jedi in the Order at all times. Yeah, there's obviously stuff going on in the galaxy with the Jedi Order that they didn't know about yet. More Force healing? Interesting. Let's talk about that. So Force healing is a big issue in the Star Wars fandom, as most things are when they're new to Star Wars. As Rey, Barazofi, and Grogu are right now the only three characters that we know of in canon that are able to use this ability. At least they've done it in action, in live action or in animation. For Barris. No, Chimera did not use Force Heal in episode 4 or 5 of The Acolyte, as many fans would attest to. But what do we think about Force Heal? It is an ability that's supposed to be extremely hard to do. But do you want more of it or less of it? I feel like it's something that should be sacred, something that is very rare, like a Force Dyad or something along those lines. You know? Me and the GOAT CTC want more Force healing. CTC? I don't know who that is. CTC. Cameron, telephone, Connor. I have no idea. All right, Sonny with the very generous $5 holla says, Mike, honestly, I don't get why this show got so much hate. The Acolyte is a good series and deserves a second season. So much more story to be told. I agree with that, Sonny. I think it definitely deserves a second season. But I can tell you why it got so much hate. The series itself is really good. It's the conversation around the series that is the problem. This really has, I mean, there are some people who complain about the writing of the show or the pacing of the show, which is some actual, I'd way rather you complain about that than just the other stuff. But it actually could be an issue that you have with it. Maybe you don't like the writing. Maybe you don't like the pacing. Maybe you don't like this or that about the show, and that's perfectly fine. It's more about the conversation around the show, like I just said, the interviews of these actors and actresses saying some crazy stuff that really turned a lot of Star Wars fans away. Yeah, but that's pretty much why. You got to remember this. This show had a 13 as an audience score on Rotten Tomatoes before the first 2 episodes aired. So before any of us, any of the audience, saw a single second of this show, it already had been reviewed bombed. It already had a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes for an audience score, while the critics were giving it a 90, or in the high 80s at least. So clearly there was something wrong before the show even began. And that's a big issue, because the show itself is good, in my personal opinion. But I really do believe that it is good and definitely deserves a second season. John Frag says, Grievous, a Star Wars story. What is your opinion on that? I'd love a Grievous Star Wars story. I think it would probably have to be a show rather than a movie. But yeah, Grievous's origins is awesome. And to get to see that in live action would be so cool. You'd also get to it'd be hard to do in live action because you have to involve Palpatine, you have to involve Dooku in that story. And obviously Christopher Lee's no longer with us. And Ian McDiarmid is a lot older than he was when he once played a young Palpatine. It would take a lot of CGI and deepfake to do that, but I would 100% be down with that. 100%. Chris says they never have absolutely order. Remember, only the Sith deal in absolutes. Again, no retcon. That's funny. Charles says Sidious just uses Anakin like everyone else. No more, no less. He uses Anakin, but he also wants Anakin to be his apprentice, and he succeeds with that. And every Sith master is training their apprentice to eventually overthrow them, and then they become the master, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Indeed. Tony says, if not for Balin's Skull, I would be more excited for Season 2 of The Acolyte than Season 2 of Ahsoka. If not for Balin's Skull, I would be... Oh, I get you. Because you love the character of Balin's Skull so much. I get that. Absolutely. Let me preface this. I am 1,000,000,000% more excited for Ahsoka Season 2 than I am for than an Acolyte Season 2. The Ahsoka show is my favorite Star Wars single season of television ever. I love all those characters, Balin's Skull included. I'm so intrigued to see where they go with Balin's story, with Ahsoka's story, and with the Mortis gods, with possibly Abeloth coming into all of that. And I'm way more excited for all that than I am this Acolyte Season 2. However, I still want that. Why can't it be both? You know? Why can't it be both? Oh my God, Sonny, with another very generous $5 holla, says, I don't care about Rotten Tomatoes. If you are a true Star Wars fan, then you will give new storytelling a chance. There's more to Star Wars than Skywalkers and Palpatines. It is true, and it is sad, honestly. This was the first Star Wars story outside of the Skywalker saga. And that was supposed to be something that we could celebrate. And that was supposed to be something that would be really, really cool to explore this actual galaxy of stories that we have outside of Skywalkers and Palpatines. And there are some connections to those characters, like Darth Plagueis showing up. But other than that, there's really nothing that connects to the Skywalkers. There's nothing that connects to Palpatine specifically, except for Darth Plagueis, in this Acolyte show. And it introduces new characters, new ships, all that stuff that I mentioned earlier. And it does it in a very, very cool new way. Now, with James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi on the way, this is not a good sign. The Star Wars fandom being so divided on a new era of Star Wars is not good news, as James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi has a lot riding on it. It's going 25,000 years before anything, and it's going to show us the origins of the Jedi Order. That will lead us into the Old Republic. That will lead us into so many more crazy storytelling, and it has to do it correctly because this Acolyte show clearly divided the Star Wars fandom. Clearly. Yeah. But I agree. You got to give a show a chance. If you don't like it, then that's perfectly fine. But you at least got to give it a chance. Review bombing it before it even comes out is just sad and embarrassing. Yeah. Jack says, Cortosis I've never heard before. Yeah, I mean, that's because it's had very few mentions in Star Wars canon or Legends, for that matter. Fearless says, that's why people are so angry. They think that Legends is canon and shouldn't be changed. They keep forgetting that even George Lucas didn't approve of the EU. Yeah, it's a whole conversation that could go on for the end of time. But it's just over and over and over again. These people who would kill to see George Lucas come back, which I would too, but these people who are like, anything that George Lucas doesn't create is not my Star Wars, they also think that the Legends or extended universe is their canon when he didn't view it as his canon. It's an endless loop of nonsense, pretty much. Yeah. Charles says, Disney, I think, likes to keep those Star Wars shows as short stories, and that's it. 1 or 2 seasons, and then move on. I mean, kind of, but it depends on the story entirely. Look at The Mandalorian. It's 3 seasons, and now it's going to go to the movies and probably get multiple movies, and it's tying into the greater story of Star Wars. Andor is a spin-off of Rogue One, so it's going to be getting 2 seasons and then go right into Rogue One. So that's already has a beginning and an end. But like I said earlier, a show like Kenobi doesn't really have more story to tell. It was a one-off thing. It was a limited experience, is the Kenobi show. So it fully depends on the story being told. Yeah. Plagueis sure was peak. Plagueis was awesome. I mean, I still want to put it in a picture frame it, put it up on the wall. I want season 2 for many reasons, but the biggest one by far is the possibility of seeing more Darth Plagueis, getting to actually see him maybe in action, but training with Chimere, possibly training with Osha, and teaching, which would be awesome too. Yeah. Cortosis is a great writer selection for a metal with unique properties, and that's very good for live film. Cortosis is brittle. I wouldn't say it's brittle. It does withstand at least one lightsaber strike, but it is not as strong as Beskar. Yeah. That is true. That is true. Charles says, Chimere's lightsaber for sure is +1 on points there. Unique, not flashy or shiny, just janky and functional. It is very cool. It is very, very cool. Yeah. Indeed. Jack Robin says, Marok did that move on Ahsoka, though. Did what move on Ahsoka? Charles says, there are Sith, and then there are dark side Force user groups / cults throughout the galaxy. This is true, and that's why they didn't think that the Sith had returned, because the Sith haven't been around for a millennia at that point. Yeah. Truth Hurts, what's up? Truth Hurts says, Star Wars is dead. Okay. We had a funeral a couple of days ago. That's just, like, what? Why? What's the point? Bye-bye. Charles says, hang on, let me rewind to what he just said. Star Wars is dead? Are you out of your fucking mind? We sit here, just watched the finale of The Acolyte, where we just got Darth Plagueis for the first time in live action. The last mention of him in last mention of him in canon was in 2005, 20 years ago, almost 19 years ago. Now you're coming off the backs of that Acolyte show, and you're going right into Star Wars Outlaws at the end of August. You're going into Skeleton Crew to end this year, Andor Season 2 next year, Ahsoka Season 2 following that, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie coming into the theaters, the Rey movie, the Dawn of the Jedi movie, the Dave Filoni movie, the Shawn Levy movie, and now you have so many stories coming, possibly going to the Old Republic fairly soon, and you're sitting here telling me that this is dead? You're sitting here and telling me that Star Wars, as it's never been more alive in the history of its existence, is dead? Star Wars, since it was released in 1977, it released a movie every 3 years. And then it took 16 years off, and then a movie every 3 years. And then it took a few years off, and then released an animated show, which was one show every year, something like that, for 5-6 years. Then it took 4 years off. And then we got a movie every year. And then in 2019, we got a show or 2 every year. And now we're at the peak. At least it's going to keep going up, I hope. But we are at a peak of the most Star Wars content we've ever received. And dare I say, some of the best Star Wars content we've ever received. The Mandalorian Season 2. Ahsoka Season 1. The Bad Batch Season 3. Tales of the Jedi. Andor. This is some of the best stuff we've ever seen on screen for Star Wars. Even look at some of the movies. Rogue One. 20 years ago was Revenge of the Sith, which is the best, in my personal opinion, Star Wars movie. I don't know what we're talking about here. I really don't. The people who say Star Wars is dead, Star Wars is back. Star Wars is back is the funniest thing. Star Wars is back. When something good happens in Star Wars, it's back. When did it leave? I don't know. I just sit here and I look. This is the greatest time to ever be a Star Wars fan. Ever. Right now. Because you can go back and you can watch the original trilogy whenever you want. The prequel trilogy, whenever you want. Or any of these shows that came out over the last 10, 15 years. Or you could get excited for what's to come. The Skeleton Crews, the video games, the movies, the Andor Season 2, Ahsoka Season 2, all of it. How can it be a better time to be a Star Wars fan than right now? Let's get to this tier list before I lose my absolute mind. But before we do, I saw another super chat. Sonny, oh my God, Sonny. What the hell? With another very generous $5 holla says, Kenobi was disappointing because I was hoping that they would focus on the backstory of becoming a Jedi and meeting a young Leia. Oh, versus meeting a young Leia. Oh, you were hoping that Kenobi was going to be a backstory show? Oh, well that's... I did not think that at all. But, yeah, I don't know. I guess not. Okay, let's do this tier list ranking thing we got going on here. We're going to go through the other shows fairly quickly because I want to get to the Acolyte, which is why we're all here, where this lands on this tier list. But we're going to try to do this in order, and you guys are going to have to help me out as a chat. Let's do this. So I believe the first thing that releases is the Clone Wars. So the Clone Wars first 6 seasons we're doing all together, and then we're going to do the 7th season separately. Okay? So we're doing individual seasons, so like the Mandalorian Season 1 is here, Season 2 is there, Season 3. Then you got like Star Wars Rebels Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, Season 4. Resistance is both seasons together. Clone Wars is all 6 seasons together. Vision Season 1, then Season 2. Like Bad Batch Season 1, 2, 3. So it's all kind of split up. But first, we start off with the Clone Wars Season 1 through 6. Where would you rank the Clone Wars Season 1 through 6 on a tier list of S, A, B, C, and D? Clone Wars Season 1 through 6. Now, you got to think about this as a whole. You have arcs like Mortis or Ahsoka getting framed for the bombing of the Jedi Temple where she leaves the Jedi Order, or the Mandalorian arcs with Darth Maul and Satine and Obi-Wan. But you also have arcs where it's just droids or it's just random side mission stuff. Where would you put Season 1 through 6 of this Clone Wars series? S, A, B, D? Oh my God. B, A, B, B, B. For me, this is definitely an A. Again, we make these tier lists fairly often on this channel, and they change all the time, depending on if I just rewatched it again and forgot some of the stuff that was in it that was so good, or if my opinions just change, because opinions change all the time. So my tier lists probably change very frequently. But right now, for me, this Clone Wars show is an A. I'm rewatching it currently. There's some arcs in it that is just so damn good, like the Mortis arc, like the Darth Maul coming back. Maul is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. So is Ahsoka, and so is Anakin. All 3 of them just happen to be in this show. Obi-Wan is one of my favorite characters too, and he's in the show too. So it's really just a combination of, I love these characters. There's so much cool stories coming on in here. And it's just that good. The only reason it's not at the S tier is because of those side mission filler stuff with the droids and all that stuff. They're fun. They're just an experience with Star Wars, but they just keep it from being that S tier. It's not perfect. It's not the best of the best, in my personal opinion. And it does have some of the best lightsaber duels, as Lucid Dreamer says. Sidious with the 2 lightsabers versus Maul and Savage Opress was a top tier lightsaber duel. It really was. It was awesome. Yeah. That all the Darth Maul stuff on Mandalore is so damn cool. It's so cool. Okay, moving on. What would be next in order of release? Rebels Season 1? Would it be Rebels Season 1? What do we think? Rebels? I think it's Rebels Season 1, right? Somebody fact check me on that. Is it Rebels Season 1? I think it's Rebels Season 1, and then maybe 2, and then 3, then 4. Resistance is somewhere in there, so Season 1, Season 2, Season 3. and then season 4. Go like that. Is it? It is Rebels? Okay. Rebels Season 1. Where would you rank Rebels Season 1 on this list? Rebels Season 1 is probably the worst of the 4 seasons in my personal opinion. It is the slowest, that's for sure, but it introduces all these brand new amazing characters like Ezra Bridger, like Kanan Jarrus, like Harrison Dula, like Zeb Orrelios, like Sabine Wren, like all of them. Chopper? He's right there. He's right there. Where would you rank Season 1 of Star Wars Rebels? For me, I would put it at a B. It's not as good as all 6 seasons of the Clone Wars, but it does introduce all these characters. It does bring in the Inquisitors. It does give us the groundwork for what's to come, which is Season 2, 3, and 4, which are all going to be ranked higher than it because Season 2, 3, and 4 of Rebels might be some of the best Star Wars content to ever exist. Let's move on right away to Season 2. Where would you rank Season 2 of Star Wars Rebels on this tier list? Where would you put Season 2 of Star Wars Rebels? What do we think? I wanted to see more. I wanted to see Maul versus Vader in Rebels. That would have been cool. That definitely would have been cool. Yeah. Season 2 of Rebels is S tier. A. See a bunch of A's. B. D. Oh my God. D tier is crazy. A. B. B. This for me is A tier. It's right up there with that Clone Wars first 6 seasons, but it's better than Season 1. It is. And actually, we're going to put this in order here, like actual order. And I put it above the Clone Wars. Can I do that? Oh, there we go. Above the Clone Wars because of how this season ends. Now, the full season is really good. It brings in Darth Vader into the mix after the Grand Inquisitor died in Season 1. And it allows us to sort of get more story with these really cool characters that are being developed. It brings back Ahsoka Tano, which is awesome, and it ends with Ahsoka dying. You get Darth Maul brought back in. It's Malachor 5. The Twilight of the Apprentice Part 1 and Part 2 might be some of the best Star Wars to ever exist. The fight between Ahsoka and Vader on Malachor 5 when she cuts his mask, which is sort of foreshadowing the Kenobi show, is peak. It's absolutely peak. So that's where I put that second season. Now, Season 3 of Star Wars Rebels. I recently rewatched Star Wars Rebels, and I have a differing opinion about this 3rd season now. Where do you put Season 3 of Star Wars Rebels? What do we think? All Rebels seasons in Ahsoka are going into the D for Timothy Zahn's trilogy, consistent retcons. His Legends trilogy? Or are you talking about the canon ones? That's crazy. S, A, B, A, a lot of A's. S, A. I put Season 3 at an A tier. And not only that, I put it above Season 2 for a number of reasons. First of all, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Grand Admiral Thrawn is one of my favorite villains in Star Wars. It's very hard because he's really only recently been introduced into canon. Or sorry, I should say, like brought into live action with Ahsoka, but brought into animation with this 3rd season. Then, like I said before, you got Darth Maul, who's one of my favorite characters of all time. Darth Maul is so good in this 3rd season. Him hunting down Obi-Wan, the twin sons, one of the greatest lightsaber duels in Star Wars, is the most simple one, in that is Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul on Tatooine in this 3rd season. It's so damn good. The only flaw that I have with this 3rd season, and the only reason it's not in that S tier, is how it ends. This 3rd season gives us, what the hell's his name? What the hell's his name? What's the name of the big, the Bendu? Oh my God. I don't know what the hell just happened to my brain, but it just broke. The Bendu. I didn't even say anything, and you still got it. That's awesome, Jay. I appreciate that. The Bendu. Yes, the Bendu in this 3rd season is awesome, but it's more so the way that this season ends is not my favorite. You get the Mandalore stuff, but it's like Season 2 ended on such a peak. Season 4 ends on such a peak. And Season 3 kind of doesn't, it kind of ends on like a cliffhanger type deal. It's not It's not the best ending of a season, so that's why it's in the A tier and not S. Now let's talk about season 4. Where would you rank season 4? Because for me, it's not even close. It's our first S tier of the day. Season 4 of Rebels, it's very, very difficult when we talk about single seasons of television with Star Wars. But season 4 is almost perfect. If perfect had a definition, season 4 of Rebels would be almost it, if that makes any sense at all. Not only the ending, of course, Ezra sacrificing himself, the Purgles coming in, wrapping up the ship, blasting into hyperspace with Grand Admiral Thrawn. Kanan Jarrus' sacrifice, peak. It's just absolutely incredible. But the full 4th season, the entire thing from start to finish, the world between worlds, are you kidding me? So damn good. So damn good. And it seems like a lot of you actually agree with me in the chat. I see a lot of S's. A lot of S's. And yeah, R.I.P. Kanan Jarrus. Yeah. So some pretty high praise for this Rebels show as we've gone through all 4 seasons here. Season 1's in the B tier, 2 A's and an S. That's an incredible show. That's an incredible show. Absolutely incredible. Okay, let's move on now to what? Star Wars Resistance? I guess we'll go Star Wars Resistance next. Where do you put Star Wars Resistance? Okay, guys, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I still, to this day, have not seen Star Wars Resistance. So I'm actually going to leave this fully up to the consensus of the chat. Where do we put Star Wars Resistance? I know I sit here and I say I'm a guy who loves Star Wars, and I am, of course, love Star Wars. But I still haven't seen Star Wars Resistance. And it's funny because you guys have actually told me, Mike, it's not that bad. You should watch it. And I will get to it at some point eventually. But I just never find the time, you know? It just never happens. And I see an astounding amount of D's in the chat. I see some C's, some people giving it a chance. But I see way more D's than C's. So I think we're going to have to go with a D on this one. Again, still haven't seen it. At some point, I'll give it a chance. But for now, Resistance stays at a D tier. Okay, now I believe we hit some live action stuff here. No? Maybe The Mandalorian Season 1? Somebody in the chat, where are we at time-wise? I think we're probably around 2019, right? Where The Mandalorian Season 1 comes out? Should we check the order of releases of these shows? Order of release Star Wars shows. Let's see. Star Wars shows, every Star Wars show in release order. Let's see. Oh, this is every Star Wars project in release order. Okay. Yeah, Resistance and then The Mandalorian. Okay, so The Mandalorian. This is the list I'm looking at. It's from The Hollywood Reporter. So now we're on 2019, The Mandalorian. So let's do that. So The Mandalorian Season 1. Where do we rank this on the scale? Season 1 of The Mandalorian. Where are we at? Where are we at? S, A, S, high A, S, 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 strong A, S. Okay, we're around the A and the S tier. And for me, that's exactly where I am. I'm going to put Mando Season 1 in the S tier. And here's why. I'm actually going to put it below Season 4 of Rebels. I would agree with you that it's high A's, low S's. And here's why. The Mandalorian Season 1 is not as good as Season 2. However, it establishes Grogu, it establishes Mando, it gives us this great, cool, new action-adventure story. There's a lot of filler episodes in that first season, but it's what it does for the Star Wars fandom. It's what it does for Star Wars as a brand. At the time, Disney Plus just dropped. It actually dropped with The Mandalorian on opening day, Season 1, Episode 1. So The Mandalorian was make or miss. If The Mandalorian sucked, we wouldn't have the rest of the list. We wouldn't have any other Star Wars shows after it because probably Disney would have went, okay, Star Wars doesn't work as a television show at all, especially in live action. We're just going to scrap that, go back to movies, maybe do something else, maybe take a break. I don't know. But if The Mandalorian didn't work, so much would be different with Star Wars. Because right now, what we're focusing on is the Mandoverse time period. You got Ahsoka, you got the Book of Boba Fett, you got Skeleton Crew coming, you got more seasons of the Mandalorian, you got movies in this Mandoverse time period now, comics in this Mandoverse time period now. And it's being focused on as the main sort of time period between the original trilogy and that prequel trilogy, this 30-year gap. And it all stems from that first season of The Mandalorian. So that's why it is 100% in the S tier, but not quite better than season 4 of Rebels for me. Next on the list, let me go back to my list over here. That's Rise of Skywalker. Bad Batch season 1. Okay, so the Bad Batch season 1, I believe, is this poster, and then season 2 is that one. Season 3 is that one. Season 1 of the Bad Batch. Where do you rank season 1 of the Bad Batch? Season 1. Season 1 is the massive opening with like an hour-and-a-half episode with Kanan Jarrus, a young Kanan, during Order 66. Season 1's a little bit slower. It kind of just introduces Omega. They go on a bunch of side missions. But by the end of it, you see Mount Tantus. For me, I see a strong A, B, S. Wow. A, very high A, C, oh my, B, A, B, A. For me, it's an A tier, but it's not better than any of the other A tiers currently. It's not better than season 2 or season 3 of Rebels, and it's definitely not better than the first 6 seasons of the Clone Wars. So for me, it's A tier, but it's the bottom of A tier. It's really, the premiere is the best episode. Episode 1 is the best episode. It's the longest episode, but it's Order 66. It's got Palpatine, it's got Kanan Jarrus, it's got all this introductory stuff, but it's played out in a very cool way. The rest of the season is kind of just learning these characters, developing these characters. It's very similar to actually Rebels Season 1, but I think it's actually a little better than Rebels Season 1. So that's where the Bad Batch Season 1 sticks. Now, we move on to the Book of Boba Fett. Okay, the Book of Boba Fett is right here. Where do you rank the Book of Boba Fett? This is where things might get controversial. This is where things might get interesting. Where do you rank the Book of Boba Fett? B, D, oh my God, C, D plus, oh my God, D minus, S, oh my God, an S tier, F, C, A, oh my God, we are all over the place, B, C, D, holy shit. I love the Tusken stuff, B, C minus. I've never seen the chat more split than right now, actually. This is a literal range from all the way from S to all the way to D. Somebody even said F. B, A, B, C minus. This is crazy. B for Boba Fett. This is wild. This is wild. I love the Book of Boba Fett. B. Okay. The Book of Boba Fett. This might anger a lot of you. This might anger a lot of you because the Book of Boba Fett. Shit. The Book of Boba Fett is an A tier, and it's better than the Bad Batch Season 1. Hear me out. Hear me out. Mike, don't rate it. It's too late. I already did it. It's too late. I already did it. Here's why. Here is why. Oh my God, you guys. Here's why. The Book of Boba Fett. Yes, you can say that the Tusken Raider stuff wasn't cool. Some people liked it, some people didn't. The train heist in episode 2 was fantastic. For me, the two best episodes of this show are episode 5 and episode 6, the two Mandalorian episodes. And that doesn't mean anything. Just because they're two Mando episodes, Boba Fett's not even in them, doesn't matter. It's still in the show. It's still in the Book of Boba Fett. And From the Desert Comes a Stranger might be the one of, if not the single greatest episodes of Star Wars television. In that episode, you get Ahsoka meeting Luke. You get Luke training Grogu. You get Cad Bane for the first time in live action. You get Luke's Jedi Temple. it is a masterpiece. And it just so happens to be in the Book of Boba Fett. The episode before that is when Din Djarin gets his N1 starfighter. You get sort of the flashbacks to the Phantom Menace. But that is an incredible episode as well. The finale doesn't really hit as well as it should. It doesn't really stick the landing as well as it should. But the showdown between Boba Fett and Cad Bane is still great. Boba Fett riding the Rancor is still great. It is not, I don't say, anywhere close to an S tier. It's probably like an A- or closer to a B. But it is in that A. From the Desert Comes a Stranger alone puts it in the A tier. But it does have some other great stuff in the first couple episodes and in that fourth episode as well. So for those reasons, the Book of Boba Fett is at a low A. It's a low A. Okay? Okay? The Rancor, Cowboy Boba, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, what's next? Star Wars Visions Season 1. Okay, Star Wars Visions Season 1. Where do we rank this? The first season of Star Wars Visions. Where would you rank that? Now I feel like watching Boba Fett again. You should. Go. I really urge you guys to go rewatch the Book of Boba Fett, because in your own heads, I feel like, and I had this the exact same way. In my own head, I disliked the Book of Boba Fett for some reason, and I couldn't figure out why until I rewatched it and said, I don't. This show is way better than I remembered it being. Yeah, I urge you to go rewatch it. All right, let's see. The first season of Star Wars Visions. Where are we at? A, low C, okay. C, D, oh my God. Oh my God. Low D, C, A, B. For me, I'm not a big fan of Star Wars Visions. I'm a Star Wars canon kind of guy. I like Legends stories like Darth Plagueis' novel and the Thrawn Heir to the Empire trilogy, the Darth Bane stuff, the Old Republic stuff. For me, Visions just doesn't hit well. Season 1, however, I do think is better than Season 2. I think the best episode is the first one, and that is the Ronin episode. There's some good ones with like the Ninth Jedi or the Ninth Brother, whatever it's called. The Twins episode was pretty good in this first season. So for that reason, this Vision Season 1 is a C. It just doesn't hit for me. It doesn't. There's some stories that I kind of liked, like the Ronin one, but there's other ones like the second episode is Boba Fett on Tatooine, and he's not even the main character. It's like a band on Tatooine, and they're just hanging out. Like, they're fun stories, sure, but they're not canon, and they don't really mean much. And honestly, I've probably watched this show twice. I watched it when it first came out. I probably rewatched it once before Season 2 came out, and that's it. And I don't have any urge to go rewatch it again. For that reason, it sits at a C. Plain and simple. Yeah. Okay. Next is The Bad Batch Season 2, I'm guessing? What? Yes. Bad Batch Season 2. Wait, what? Is it The Bad Batch Season 2? I don't think it is. I guess it is. Okay, Bad Batch Season 2. I don't know if this list is right, but anyway, we'll go with it. The Bad Batch Season 2. The Bad Batch Season 2. Where do you rank The Bad Batch Season 2? What do we rank it? S tier, A. Oh my God. Low S, A. Low A. Okay, interesting. S. Yeah, text death. So the Bad Batch Season 2, I think, is better than Season 1. I think Bad Batch is a very interesting show where, a lot like Rebels and a lot like The Mandalorian, not really like The Mandalorian, but each season gets better. So Season 2 I will be putting higher than Season 1, but I do not put it at the S tier. I think it's a A, but it's sort of a middle line A. I would say that it's probably right around here. Maybe better than the book. No. Again, The Desert Comes a Stranger is just better than any single episode of this. But it is an A tier. Tech's death, of course, at the end. But again, the majority of this season is still establishing these characters, growing with these characters. There's some cool arcs in it, but again, it's still just a lot of story of the week type stuff, which is a lot of what the first 6 seasons of the Clone Wars are as well. But that's why it sits at a low to mid A. All right, moving on, I believe, is the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Again, a very interesting one here. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Kind of like the Book of Boba Fett, we're going to see where people are at with this. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show, where do we rank the Obi-Wan Kenobi show at? A, B, D, A minus, B, C, A, B, A. This one's actually not as crazy as I thought it was going to be. The Book of Boba Fett was by far more all over the place, I think. This one is around ABCs. A few D's sprinkled in there. C+, Obi-Wan, A minus. B-Man, what's up? Kenobi's a very interesting one for me because the finale of the Kenobi show is amazing. That rematch of the century did not disappoint. The dialogue at the end where he says Anakin is gone, his voice is switching between Vader's and Anakin's. Obi-Wan says that my brother's truly gone. He starts to call him Darth like he does in the original trilogy. That's a really cool detail that a lot of people missed. In that finale, or in the show entirely, Obi-Wan calls Anakin. He calls him Anakin throughout the prequels, throughout this Obi-Wan show. He calls him Anakin until Vader says Anakin's gone and gives him the whole spiel. And then he says that my brother's truly gone, and he says by Darth. He calls him Darth, which is what Alec Guinness calls him in the original trilogy. Darth, only a master of evil Darth. That's a pretty cool detail. But that finale and the second to last episode with the flashbacks and the Reva versus Vader fight, which is great, those 2 episodes are really good. However, the first 4 episodes are not what we wanted. They are decent, but they're not the top tier storytelling that should be when it comes to Kenobi. For those reasons, I put Kenobi at a B tier. Now, I will put it above Rebels Season 1, just because of the finale and just because of that second to last episode as well. But it's just the first early episodes of that show that just don't hit as hard as they should. Episode 3 is pretty good when Vader first shows up and him and Obi-Wan first have their confrontation and he drags Obi-Wan through the fire. That's pretty good. That's where they first kind of meet and have a lightsaber duel. But the Reva stuff just takes away from the 2 main characters here, which are Obi-Wan and Vader, and for those reasons, it sits at a B. Okay. Now, Andor. Okay, Andor's an interesting one as well, as some fans really... Is Andor not here? What the hell? Andor's not even on my list. Oh, no, it's right there. I'm blind. Never mind. Andor's right there. Crisis averted. Andor's right there. It's literally right in front of my eyes. Where do we rank Andor? Andor Season 1, as Season 2 is on the way. Andor's an interesting one because some fans really love Andor and are like S tier all the way, or some people are like, I mean, it's all right. I mean, I guess it's fine. I see a lot of S's, some A's, some S's, some B's. B minus, A plus, A minus, S, B. For me, Andor, it is very good. We'll put it that way. It is very good. I look forward to Season 2. I think Season 2 will be better. But I'm going to put Andor at an A tier. And a very high A tier, as I'm going to put it above. I'm actually going to put it in between the 2 Rebels seasons. Right there. I think as a whole season, Andor is better than Season 2 of Rebels because Season 2's finale is incredible. But as a whole, Andor is better. I think as a whole, Season 3 of Rebels is better. But it is a very high A. I'd say A+, borderline S. Just the story development of all these brand new characters is very similar to like a Acolyte show almost. But can't wait to see what Season 2 does. I think Season 2 will be better than Season 1 But for now, it sits at a high A, an A plus range, so to speak. Yeah. Indeed. Especially now with it being confirmed that Krennic is coming back for season 2, probably going to be seeing some Vader in season 2, and moving right into Rogue One in season 2 is going to be pretty damn cool. And K2SO, of course, is going to be in it as well. It's going to be pretty awesome. Okay, next on the list, we got Tales of the Jedi. Okay, Tales of the Jedi is a really, really interesting one. It's only 6 episodes, and each episode is only about 10 to 15 minutes. So where do you rank Tales of the Jedi Season 1? Where do you rank Tales of the Jedi Season 1, as there's probably going to be a second season at some point? S, B, A, B, A plus, A, a whole lot of A's. I agree that it's an A, but it's a very, very high A. I would honestly argue that it's borderline S, and I would put it above all of them. Right there, above all of them. I could even argue that it's an S. And here's why. First of all, the Ahsoka stuff is great. It shows how she survived Order 66. It shows how she rejoins the rebellion, or joins the rebellion, I guess, as Fulcrum. But it's the Dooku stuff. The Dooku stuff is extraordinary. His fight between him and Yaddle, him falling to the dark side, the stuff with Mace Windu and Qui-Gon in the earlier episodes, it's phenomenal. It's so damn good, and I cannot wait for season 2. Absolutely cannot wait for season 2, and that's why it's that high. I could really just argue that it could be S all day long, and if you were to say S, I would not disagree with you, but for now, we're going to put it in that A range. Okay. Now we have, I did not put Young Jedi Adventures on here. I did not watch it. Oh, it only did 1 season of The Mandalorian. Shnikes. Okay. I guess we'll do season 2 and season 3 now, because they both came out before Ahsoka. So let's do Mando season 2 first. Mando season 2. All right. Rank Mando season 2 in the chat. Where would you put Mando season 2? For me, this is an easy one. This is probably the easiest one of the day, maybe the second easiest one of the day. It's S tier, and it's the top of S tier for now. Mando season 2 is a masterpiece, an absolute masterpiece. From bringing in Bo-Katan to Ahsoka Tano to, of course, the finale with Luke Skywalker. But it's the entire season that's just so damn good. Episode 1 of season 2 is titled what's it called? Not the mayor, but the something. What is it titled? Somebody please help me out in the chat. Either way, it's incredible. It's, what the hell is it called? The Marshal. Oh my God, thank you. The Marshal is what it's called. Not the mayor, the Marshal. The Marshal starts off the season with a bang, with Cobb Vanth, with Crate Dragon, with all that. Then you move into Bo-Katan territory where he's looking for Mandalorians. He's looking for Jedi so that he can get back Grogu back to his people. He then comes upon Ahsoka Tano on Corvus, where she's fighting against Morgan Elsbeth, which becomes a way bigger story now. Like now, when you go back and rewatch Mando season 2, you know about Morgan Elsbeth and how she's working with Thrawn and how she's looking for Thrawn and how she once had a very strong relationship with the Empire and Thrawn from Tales of the Empire. But that second season, from start to finish, and of course it finishes with Luke Skywalker coming to save the day, is a masterpiece. Absolute S tier. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, in my own personal opinion. 2 of the best episodes, I guess 3 of the best episodes with the Marshal, the Jedi, which is where Ahsoka Tano is introduced into live action, and we get Grogu's name, and of course the rescue with Luke Skywalker. Yeah. Okay. That brings us to season 3 of The Mandalorian, which is a very interesting one. And let's see where you guys are at with season 3 of The Mandalorian. Rank it on this list. Where would you put The Mandalorian season 3? And while you do that, can I get some good cups follow orders in the chat, please? I'm losing my voice today. I'm losing my voice. Okay. A B, A plus. Okay. C, A, S. S tier. That's very high for end of season 3. A, S, S. Oh my god, a lot of S's for this Mando season 3. Crazy. What the hell? What was that? S, A, B, D, C. Low B's, B, A, S. For me, The Mandalorian season 3 is not as good as the first 2 seasons. It's not. However, it gets a lot of shit for how bad it is, how discombobulated it is, when it's not nearly as bad as people are saying. The Mandalorian season 3 is not really the 3rd season of The Mandalorian. Obviously it is. But it has weird side mission episodes like the Dr. Pershing stuff on Coruscant in episode 3. It has Jack Black and Lizzo in episode 7 or 6, whenever that was. But it really is the end cap to the Mandalorian arcs from Star Wars Rebels in the Clone Wars. It's the end of that. It's taking back the home world of Mandalore. And that is what brings it a lot higher for me. As a big Clone Wars and Rebels fan, this is the end to that story. Yes, Din Djarin kind of takes a side co-pilot seat to Bo-Katan, but that's sort of because of the behind-the-scenes stuff. For me, The Mandalorian is not as good as the first 2 seasons, but I do still see it better than Kenobi. I see it better than Rebels Season 1. I still see it better than Bad Batch Season 1. I still see it better than Bad Batch Season 2. I still see it probably better than... I put it right here. I think the Book of Boba Fett is better than Mando Season 3. I think, again, just From the Desert Comes a Stranger makes it better. But this 3rd season is not nearly as bad as people are making it out to be. Again, like I said with the Book of Boba Fett, I urge you to go rewatch it and just take it all in. It's the end of this massive, almost 10-season arc between the Clone Wars and Rebels and this show, and it really brings it back. Yes, there's weird episodes like Lizzo and Jack Black being in there and the Dr. Pershing stuff in episode 3, which don't really make sense still to this day, but there are really good stuff in there, like the Penultimate episode, the last episode, and some of the early stuff with Bo-Katan in the first couple episodes. Yeah. All right, next on the list, I believe, is Ahsoka. That can't be right. Oh, Clone Wars Season 7. We zoomed past that. That came out earlier than that. Okay, so we'll go Clone Wars Season 7 next, and then we'll go Vision Season 2. Yeah, and then we'll go in order from there. Actually, in order from here. Yeah, so let's go Clone Wars Season 7 next. Where is the Clone Wars Season 7 on your list? Where is it? SSS. See a lot of S's already. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it is S. Now the question becomes, where in S? Is it better than The Mandalorian Season 1? Is it better than Rebels Season 4? Is it better than Mando Season 2? No, I don't think it's better than Mando Season 2. This is where I would put it, in this area here. I actually am going to put it below Rebels Season 4, and here's why. Yes, the Clone Wars Season 7 is a masterpiece, but the beginning is introducing the Bad Batch for the Bad Batch animation show that comes later. And the end is the Siege of Mandalore. And the Siege of Mandalore is my favorite arc from the Clone Wars. It's my favorite, 100%. But in between those 2 arcs is the Martinez. Is it Martinez? Yes, Martinez. Martinez twins arc. And that 4 episode arc just seems so out of place. So in this almost perfect 7th season, there's just this weird arc that doesn't really fit there. You go from the Bad Batch in this cool, awesome arc where you bring back Echo, you introduce the Bad Batch, and then you have the Siege of Mandalore. And in between, it's a little weird. So for me, I think Season 4 of Rebels total, from start to finish, is just better. It still is S tier. It's still very high S tier. Better than The Mandalorian Season 1, but it's not better than Mando Season 2. No, it's just not. So for those reasons, it's 100% S tier, high S tier, but it's just not better than those 2 shows. Now let's go to Vision Season 2. Vision Season 2, where do you rank Vision Season 2 on this list? I remember doing the previous ranking tier list video of these seasons before, And a lot of you were even saying that you haven't even seen this second season of Visions yet. You were like, I just didn't feel like it. C. For me, it's C. And honestly, it's worse than season 1. I think season 1 has the Ronin episode. It has the old dude episode, the Ninth Jedi episode. Those episodes are cool. The second season really just, it has a few cool episodes. Episode 1 I remember being really cool with the paints and everything. But it's just almost forgettable. And honestly, you could argue that it's probably even D tier, but I'll put it in C for now because there are a few episodes in there that I really did enjoy. But for me, it's just not it. Visions, for some reason, doesn't click well with me. I don't enjoy it. It's not a show I want to go rewatch. We'll put it that way. All these shows above it, I'd go rewatch in a heartbeat. Way more before I'd go rewatch either season of Visions. Yeah. So for that reason, it's a low C. Low C. But that brings us to Ahsoka. Where would you rank Ahsoka season 1 with season 2 on the way? Where would you rank Ahsoka season 1? Where would you rank Ahsoka season 1? S, 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 A, S, B, S, S, A, B. Haven't seen it? Erica, stop whatever you're doing right now and go watch Ahsoka. Whatever you're doing, however important it may be, stop it and go watch Ahsoka. A, C plus, oh my God, S, S, B. This might anger a lot of you. You might have differing opinions. I don't care. Ahsoka is the single greatest season of Star Wars television to ever exist. Again, this is my opinion. This is my list. I'm actually going to share this list with you guys in the Discord. So if you guys want to make your own list, you can. And we'll do that after the stream. But for me, Ahsoka is the single greatest episode of Star Wars television ever. And that's again, just my opinion. I get why Ahsoka's not higher than that for many of you. And that's because maybe you don't like Rebels as much, or maybe you don't like the Clone Wars as much, whatever it may be. It takes the aspects of the Clone Wars, it takes the aspects of Rebels, and it makes them even better. Bringing all those characters into live action, it's pretty much like Austin Snow said, Rebels Season 5. And it has Ahsoka, Baylan Skoll, who's one of the greatest new characters, Shin Hati, and don't even get me started on the Shadow Warrior. The Shadow Warrior is my single favorite episode of Star Wars television. It's not up there with all these other ones. It is the top. It is the number one pick, number one seed, number one everything. That episode, this show. What it sets up, it's almost the Empire Strikes Back of this Mandalorian time period. If the Mandalorian season 1 and season 2 are A New Hope, then Ahsoka is the Empire Strikes Back. And it's leading us into Grand Admiral Thrawn's return. It's leading us into this whole Heir to the Empire saga that's on the way. It's that good. It is that good. Yeah. But again, that's just my tier list. Okay. I will be sharing this with the Discord so you guys can make your own. Yes, absolutely. I don't like Shin Hati. I don't know how to spell her name. I believe it's Hati, but why not? Why not? Okay, moving on to The Bad Batch Season 3. This was the final season. We just watched it a few months ago. Where do you rank The Bad Batch Season 3 on this list? Where's The Bad Batch Season 3? The final season of The Bad Batch, we just came off of it. Very high on it. S, easy S. Look at that. Look at the love for The Bad Batch in the chat. Look at all those freaking S's. That's what I'm talking about. This is absolutely an S. Now the question becomes, where in the S tier? The Bad Batch Season 3 is by far the best season of that show. Like I said, the problem with the first two seasons is it's kind of just establishing those characters. It doesn't have a big push on the greater story of the Star Wars galaxy, but this third season does. It's Project Necromancer. Sorry, excuse me. It's Project Necromancer. It's Palpatine's cloning efforts. It's Dr. Hemlock at his finest. It's the clone assassins. It's Mount Tantus. It's all this cool stuff brought into one final ultimate ending for these characters. Nobody died, which we assumed they all would, but it was an incredible ending nonetheless. This season was absolutely perfection, but where does it go? Before Ahsoka? You guys think it's here? I don't think so. It's not better than Ahsoka. It's not better than, Mando Season 2. But this is where things get interesting. I actually think it might be better than the rest. It might go right there. I'm a massive Rebels fan, and I mean a massive Rebels fan. But I think the Bad Batch Season 3 might be better than Rebels Season 4. Again, this could change. I could go either way here, but I think right now, how I'm feeling on this fine Saturday afternoon, is the Bad Batch is better. I think this is where it deserves to be. I do. And that's saying something. This Bad Batch show did something special. It really did. I didn't think the first 2 seasons were as strong as some of this other stuff. As a show, total, I think the Rebels is better. But as a single season, Season 3 is better. It is. Okay, moving on to Tales of the Empire, which just came out a few months ago on May the 4th. Where do we rank Tales of the Empire? This was the Bears Offee, Morgan Elsbeth story. We got Morgan Elsbeth on Dathomir fighting against General Grievous. Morgan Elsbeth working with Grand Admiral Thrawn. On Corvus, she's actually the one who came up with the TIE Defender project. And then, of course, we know where her story goes with Ahsoka. Then you have Bears Offee, who becomes the healer. She first becomes an Inquisitor, trains to become an Inquisitor, and then leaves the Inquisitor's order and becomes the healer before she eventually dies at the hands of an Inquisitor. Where do we rank Tales of the Empire? A, D, B, B+, low B. Interesting. I liked Morgan and Bears' story. A. For me, I liked Tales of the Empire quite a bit. I know it got a lot of hate when it was first released. A lot of people were extremely upset that we didn't get much Vader. And that was a big tease, because Vader was in one of the final trailers, and one of the first trailers, actually, for the show. You could hear his breathing, at least. And people thought Vader was going to have a bigger role, and he didn't. And that was a big bummer. However, the story itself, especially Morgan Elsbeth's story with Grand Admiral Thrawn, was incredible. I don't think it's an S tier. I do not. A tier, maybe. I'd probably be around a low A to a high B. I'm probably gonna. This is tough. I don't know what. I could go either way, so I'm gonna leave it up to the chat. Low A or high B. Where do we think? Low A or high B? Where should I put it? What do we think? B. You saying B? Low A. Oh, wait, hang on. B. High B. Okay, I see more high Bs. Okay, we're going to put it at high B. It's better than Kenobi. It's better than Rebels Season 1, but it's not better than any of these other shows above it. Yeah. All right. This brings us, drumroll please, to the final show. The reason we are all here today. The Acolyte ended this week, and now it must find its own home on this tier list. Where do you rank The Acolyte Season 1? Where do you rate The Acolyte Season 1? A, S, high B, A minus, B, S, oh my God. Strong C, A, mid A, S, S, A. A lot of S's for this Acolyte show. Crazy. B+, C, don't even rank it. C, B, S+. Oh my God. People are very high on this Acolyte show. High S That's crazy. S, 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 high B, B plus, after Mando Season 3. Okay. I don't think that it's an S. I do not. However, that's where things get very interesting. Like I said before, episode 5, which is Night in the Forest, the fight sequences in that are some of the most greatest lightsaber sequences we've ever seen in Star Wars. It is prequel level good, choreography-wise, and Chimera as a character has become one of the most intriguing ones in Disney era of Star Wars. He might be one of the best. He's up there with Din Djarin, Grogu, Kanan Jarrus, Cal Kestis. Who are some other Disney great Star Wars characters that they've introduced? Even Kylo Ren. Din Djarin. I think I'm missing a few, but he is up there with some of those greats. Even Master Soul is an incredible character in this show as well. In that finale, Darth Plagueis, Yoda, all that, incredible. Baylan Skoll, yes, that's a great one too. Shin Hati, true. Now the interesting problem becomes, where do we put it? I think it's an A tier show. I do. And actually that's where I predicted it was going to be. It's just a matter of where. Is it better than all these? Is it better than Tales of the Jedi? Is it better than Rebels Season 3? Is it better than Andor? Is it better than Rebels Season 4? Is it better than the Clone Wars? Is it better than Book of Boba Fett? Is it better than the Mandalorian Season 3? Is it better than Bad Batch Season 2? Where does it rank on here? It was better than Andor. Interesting. Low A. Hated Soul? Really? Interesting. Put it just under Ahsoka? That's crazy. I honestly think, and again, opinions change all the time. For me, I'd probably be around here. I don't know. Is it better than Andor or is it not? That's the big question. I'd probably put it below Andor for now. Again, things could change. But for now, I think I put it below Andor. Yeah, I think that's the home for it. And first of all, I have this poster pulled up here too. Nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. Damn it. Where is it? No. Oh, here it is. This is the poster that we have for it. I mean, look at this thing. Look at this thing. You got May over there, Osha over there, Chimera in the middle, Eclipse behind him, his helmet on the ground. So badass. So cool. Okay. So this is the tier list. Again, it changes all the time as I've watched new shows, watch other shows, watch shows all the time. This is the final tier list so far of current Star Wars shows right now. I think we did a pretty good job. Ahsoka at the top, Resistance at the bottom, bunch of shows in between. You got Ahsoka, Mando Season 2, Bad Batch Season 3, Rebels Season 4, Clone Wars Season 7, Mando Season 1, then Tales of the Jedi, Rebels Season 3, Andor Season 1, Acolyte, Rebels Season 2, Clone Wars 1 through 6, Book of Boba Fett, Mando Season 3, Bad Batch Season 2, Bad Batch Season 1, Tales of the Empire, Kenobi, Rebels Season 1, Vision Season 1, Vision Season 2, and Resistance. I think that's an incredible list right there. I think we did pretty damn good, chat. Sorry. Did I see that Jecky's in Deadpool? Yeah. So, well, that's where she came from, Daphne Keane. She was the little young actress who played D23 in Logan, and yeah, she's going to be in Deadpool 3. That's pretty awesome. Indeed. So yeah, that's where it is. I'm going to actually save this and download it. Download image. And then what I'm going to do after the stream is I'm going to save this and I'm going to send it to the Discord so you guys can make your own lists. And then we'll see what you guys come up with in the Discord. Yeah. I think that should be the plan here. I think that should be the plan. Okay. Now that we got that done and over with, we do have a lot of Star Wars news to get to with just a little bit short amount of time that we have left with our stream today. because we got some news about Star Wars movies. Now, first, let me get to all these super chats that Sonny just keeps sending because it's absolutely insane. Okay, Sonny with a very generous $5 holla says, Rebels series is a low C- for me. Crazy. I'm just so high on Rebels. Rebels is one of my favorite Star Wars shows ever, but that's just me. And I totally get not liking Rebels as much. The animation style and just the storytelling in general is a little different, to say the least. But that's kind of why I like it. Sonny again says the Bad Batch is New York, NY. Far the best animated Star Wars show, hands down. Point blank, period, S tier. Okay, interesting. Interesting. I actually want to start up a poll too here. I want to start up a poll, a new poll here, because we have the season 2 of the Acolyte up still. Let's put up this poll. What do you like more? Star Wars shows in animation or Star Wars shows in live action? Let me phrase this better for people who are just coming in now. What do you like more from Star Wars shows? Animation or live action? What do you prefer? Do you like the Clone Wars, Rebels, Bad Batch, Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire? Do you like that stuff more than the live action stuff? With the Mandalorian, with the Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, and or Kenobi, Acolyte. What is better? And for future content, which would you rather? If you are going to get a story about General Grievous or young Palpatine or Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple, which would you prefer? Animation or live action? I know a lot of people really, really love the ability to tell stories in animation. Like, there's stuff that you can do in animation that you can't do in live action. There just is. Especially now with the way that Star Wars works, with Carrie Fisher sadly passing away, Mark Hamill being now really a lot older, Harrison Ford being in his 80s. Like, you can't use those characters younger. I mean, you could technically, but that would be a lot of deep faking, and maybe you want to recast, or you could just animate them and create multiple seasons of a story. Interesting. Right off the bat, 62% of you say live action. But that also means that 38% of you are saying animation. We're going to leave that poll up there for a little bit and see where it goes from now. But that is pretty interesting. That is pretty dang interesting. Can't vote for as I like both. That's true. That is true. That is true, I guess. Okay. Where was I? Where was I? Oh, yeah. Let's talk about the Star Wars news when it comes to the movies. So this is pretty interesting. This actually is about Star Wars comics, and I want to just tell you guys about this. Marvel Comics, which is where they make their Star Wars comics, Marvel Comics confirmed that the new era of Star Wars comics is going to be set after Return of the Jedi. So Star Wars comics for the last decade, pretty much, yeah, since 2015, so almost a decade, has taken place in the original trilogy era. Before the original trilogy, during the original trilogy, the Vader comics, the Star Wars comics, they've all taken place in that era of original trilogy content. Now, after a decade of storytelling in comics, they're going to switch it into the post-original trilogy content, but before the sequels, sorry. So that's going to make things interesting because not only are we getting storytelling in movies in live action in the Mandoverse time period, with the Mando movies, Ahsoka Season 2, Skeleton Crew, but now we're getting comics in that same time period. And we might be getting stories about Luke's Jedi Temple and all this other stuff in that post-Return of the Jedi time period. The emphasis on this new era, the New Republic era of Star Wars, is really cool because there's a lot of cool stories in there, but it is an interesting shift. Because you could be moving anywhere in the Star Wars galaxy from before the prequels like The Acolyte to after the sequels like the Rey movie or the Dawn of the Jedi, but you're choosing this time period to fill in the gap between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy that needs to be filled desperately. My question to you with this revelation of now the comics shifting to the post Return of the Jedi efforts. Do you think it's possible to fix the sequel trilogy with content in between the originals and the sequels? And I say fix because many of you might not think that the sequel trilogy needs any fixing. I think there's a lot of plot holes and just things that need to be explained in time periods before and after the sequels. But do you think it's possible for the sequels to be fixed or at least made better by content created around it? Very similar to the prequel trilogy and the Clone Wars. 7 seasons of the Clone Wars making the prequel trilogy all that much better. Or even the Bad Batch technically makes the prequel trilogy even better. So does Kenobi, so does everything that's made around it. Interesting. So it seems like a lot of you say yes. Huh. I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. If you get Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple, you get Ben Solo's Fault of the Dark Side, you get stuff explained in this time period, it without a doubt is going to make all those movies better. Hands down. How can you not? How could it not? Explaining all these different holes in the movies. It needs to be done. It has to be done, and hopefully they do it correctly. That would be awesome, Thomas. A Crimson Dawn series with Darth Maul. That would be incredible. As he trains Kira, that would be insane. I'd be down for that. I would be down for that. Why are we rating them? There is so much fun to remember with all the shows, but rating them is so hard. Let's just love them with all our own merit, please. I mean, we're just rating them for fun. I mean, you're all going to have a list that looks different than mine. Mine just happens to look like this, but that's just my opinion. Like everybody, I don't think anybody's going to have an exact replica list to what mine looks like here. I think you're all going to have your own opinions. But the fun part is we're having fun, you know? Fearless says, Mike, please rethink your ranking of Bad Batch Season 2. It deserves an S tier. Fearless, maybe. If I go rewatch Season 2, I'll rethink it. But just from what I remember with Season 2 is it's just very similar to Season 1, except with a better ending. Yeah. Yeah. Christian says, if Star Wars Meg is having a hard time defending and saying anything positive about this show, what show? The Acolyte? You know there has to be something wrong with it. Star Wars Meg? Why is she like a... I don't understand. Did she not like The Acolyte? That's perfectly fine. I'm not here sitting here telling you have to like The Acolyte. That's just not at all what I'm saying. Yeah. Lauren says, I form my own opinions. I don't need somebody else to tell me what to think. I could not emphasize this enough, Lauren. Do not ever come into a live stream of mine, into a video of mine, into a video of anybody on YouTube, anybody anywhere, and form your opinion based off of what that content creator or me says. I should not be swaying your opinion on any sort of Star Wars content ever. Make your own opinions. I hate to see this happen when some people look up to content creators so much that they allow those content creators to bend their own opinions and own views on a certain piece of content. Because some people go from liking The Acolyte or liking any show, for that matter, to disliking it because of their content creator that they like doesn't like it or does like it. It could go the opposite direction as well. Just make your own opinion. Please make your own opinion. And even if it's the exact opposite of mine, I'd rather you come on here and argue with me or disagree with me, civilly, of course, and we can have a conversation about it, than have me change your view on anything. I'm not here to change your view. I'm here to have fun and talk about Star Wars, to enjoy it, speculate about it, talk about the news, have fun with Star Wars, escape the real world with Star Wars. I don't want to change your opinion. I don't. Not at all. And nobody should. Make your own opinion. I urge you to. Harrison says, Rebel Season 2 onward is peak. I agree with that. Rebel Season 2, 3, and 4 are so damn good. Like, just go rewatch it if you haven't. Stephen A says, Star Wars Meg's voice is so monotone, she sounds like AI. I've been saying that! I love Star Wars Meg. Shout out to Meg. She's great. But she's 100% AI. 100% AI. Until I'm proven otherwise. Until I see her face, she's AI. Just kidding. Much love, Meg. You spelled shows wrong? Damn it, did I? I did. That's hilarious. Yeah, shows has a W in it, guys, if you didn't know that. That's so funny. You guys got the gist, though. Freddie says, I think the Clone Wars is one of the best things that's ever happened to Star Wars. Introduced characters that have become beloved like original trilogy characters. I 100% agree that the Clone Wars started this whole thing. Just like the Mandalorian started the whole Disney Plus thing, the Clone Wars started the whole Star Wars can be a television show thing. And yes, it establishes new characters while also going and really expanding on legacy characters. Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Mace Windu, Palpatine, but new characters like Ahsoka, and expanding on side characters like Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, Aayla Secura, all of them. And that's why it's really successful. It also brings back Darth Maul, of course, which is, I mean, come on. But it is the catalyst for creating Dave Filoni, creating Star Wars Rebels. Without the Clone Wars, without George Lucas going and getting Dave Filoni and creating him as his apprentice, we don't get Rebels, we don't get Mando, we don't get Ahsoka or anything, really, because now he's the CCO, and now we're going to be getting so much great Star Wars content that we wouldn't have gotten without the Clone Wars. So absolutely, Clone Wars is the key to all of this, really. It's the OG. Steven says, put movies in live action and animate television. Keep them separate. Well, it's a little too late for that. It's a little too late for that. But I get what you're saying. I do. It allows you to do more in animation, and it allows there to be a difference. Yeah. Indeed. Ezra and Zeb were annoying at the beginning, but in general, Rebels was really good because of the way characters developed. Absolutely. It's the same as Ahsoka Tano. It's actually a very common thing in Star Wars when you think about it. A new character is introduced as really annoying and then becomes a beloved character. Ezra Bridger, Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano, Omega. All these characters are introduced as whiny little kids. Luke sitting there going, Uncle Owen, this droid has a bad motivator. And then he becomes a Jedi Knight by Return of the Jedi, and he's badass. You have Ahsoka Tano, who's whiny, going, just whining and crying about everything. She's 14 years old in the in the Clone Wars movie, I guess, and she's a whiny little baby. And then she becomes a Jedi Knight and becomes one of the coolest characters in Star Wars. My second favorite character ever. Even Anakin. He's not really whiny in The Phantom Menace, but he's whiny in Attack of the Clones. He really is. But then you got Ezra Bridger, who starts off as a little kid, and he's a mischievous little child, and then he becomes awesome. Omega is really annoying in Season 1, becomes beloved by the end of Season 3. It just seems like a very thing that just keeps on happening. Yeah. Luke was badass, but still a whiny Jedi. He was still a little whiny. I mean, you never stop being a little whiny. But yeah, that's true. I find animation more consistent, but live action can peak higher. That's a good point. Animation is pretty consistent, and it's consistently good. You know, there's some really, really good, like The Siege of Mandalore, or The Twin Suns, or Twilight of the Apprentice. There's a lot of peak stuff in there, but with live action, you got stuff like Acolyte Acolyte episode 8. You got from the desert comes a stranger. You got Luke Skywalker showing up to save the day at the end of season 2. You got Shadow Warrior with the World Between Worlds with Anakin and Ahsoka. So I agree with you. You have the ability to make some peak Star Wars content in live action that you probably wouldn't be able to do, or it wouldn't come off as good if it was done in animation. That's true. That is true. That is indeed the truth. Someone mentioned Mara Jade. Yes, please. Give us the entire story of Luke building his academy. I agree with that. I think you can actually bring in Mara Jade still, because you can bring in Mara Jade. You can even have her be the same, fall in love with Luke, and they have a kid maybe even, and he thinks that she dies. Maybe she even survives, and maybe even the kid survives, and then you could leave that story for a post-sequel world with a possible secret Skywalker, you know? Brandon Tran, what's up? Brandon says, were you surprised by Darth Plagueis' cameo hiding like Gollum in the Acolyte finale? Honestly, none of you are going to believe me, but I took a nap, as I usually do, on Tuesdays before the live streams because I'm up really, really late working on the breakdown videos. So I have to sleep sort of like during the day. I woke up from that sort of nap / sleep before the live stream, and I woke up and I was like, how crazy would it be? And I didn't say Darth Plagueis. I said if we saw Darth Plagueis or Darth Tenebris in tonight's episode. And I just woke up and I thought about it, and I was like, this could break the internet. This could be like the biggest thing to happen. And it happened. And I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, I called it, but I was more so like, that's going to be huge. And yes, it was huge. It was massive. So was I surprised? No, not really. It wasn't like the most surprising thing. I assumed that it might be coming. But it was still awesome. It was still so awesome. Yeah. Star Wars has been peak since 1977. True. Star Wars peak was 1983. I don't know if that was its full-on peak. I would argue that Revenge of the Sith is better. Yeah. Yeah. Indeed. Lauren says, it's like WandaVision with Mephisto. Everyone was disappointed for something that they made up with their own minds. That is true. That's true with Marvel and with Star Wars. Some fans, like ourselves, get really excited about seeing something specific, like Mephisto in WandaVision, or like in Ahsoka, having Marok be Starkiller or Barasafi or somebody of importance, and then when they're not, when Mephisto wasn't in WandaVision, when Marok was just green smoke, people were extremely upset, but we did that to ourselves, you know? So that is true. That's sort of the downfall of doing all these predictions and all these crazy theories when it comes to these shows. Yeah. Mike Ford says, Jar Jar was introduced as annoying and ended up being annoying. That's also true, but that was sort of the gist of the character. He was made to be annoying, you know? Willer says, is that the exception? Is what the exception? Oh, Jar Jar Binks. Checkmate, sir. I mean, there are annoying characters that are built to be annoying and they stay annoying, like Jar Jar Binks. Like, I don't know, Jar Jar's really the only one that comes to mind right now. But that's just Jar Jar's character. He doesn't really go on an arc. Like, he's not a main character of the show, as Ahsoka was a main character, Anakin was a main character, Luke was a main character, Ezra was a main character. So those other examples are more so main characters. But yeah, Jar Jar is annoying, made annoying, and remains annoying. Do you think we'll see Zeb in Ahsoka Season 2? Yes. At some point, the Rebels crew is going to come back together. All together. But that would mean that Zeb has to come back, or Zeb has to come in, and Sabine has to make it back from Peridia, which is going to be interesting. Indeed. Indeed. Oh, wait, what the hell? I lost my pen. Shit, just going down the bottom. I just watched Acolyte Episode 1 and Episode 2 and Ahsoka Episode 3 in the theaters. Oh, Episode 5, you mean? It was a hell of an experience. I wish they do some more screenings like that more often. Yeah, that's really cool. When they do the screenings in the theaters, episode 5 of Ahsoka was put in the theaters, episode 1 and 2 of Acolyte were put into select theaters. Like, Star Wars is always meant to be seen on the theaters. Even the shows are way cooler when they're on the theaters. In the theaters on the big screen. So I do hope they do more of that too. That would be awesome. Could Chimere be the canon version of Darth Venomous, Darth Tenebris' secret apprentice from the Plagueis novel? Brandon, yes, he could be. But they probably are going to change the story around a little bit if they do that. Yeah. We were never given his Sith name, and we were never given his regular name either. Yeah. George Lucas said point blank that Jar Jar was just was this comedy genius. I think he actually said the funniest character we've ever had. Yeah, he created them on purpose to just be the comedic relief of the movie. If I actually went back and rewatched The Phantom Menace in theaters this year, as Star Wars is meant to be seen, and watching it in the theaters, Jar Jar is hilarious. Like, every time he was on the screen making jokes, people were laughing, or just goofing around, people were laughing in the theaters, and that's what he's there to do. Indeed. Wes says, what are the chances Ezra and Ahsoka die in season 2 or Filoni's movie? I would say Ahsoka dying is highly likely. Probably not in season 2 of Ahsoka, but in the movies, because Ahsoka's character at some point is going to have to die. Now, how she dies is going to be extremely important because she's been this so important character, and who kills her is going to be important too. I don't know anything about it, but I could see her dying in this Mando time period, as I don't see her living past the sequel trilogy. Yeah. Harrison says, I would like if they continued Acolyte. May is now in a very Revan-like position, losing her memories and now helping a former enemy go against her former ally. That is kind of true. Yeah, Revan, it's very Revan-esque. True. Almost the reverse of Revan. I thought the droids were very comedic relief. L3 in Solo was a riot. Yeah, I guess. I mean, R2-D2 is kind of a comedic relief, and C-3PO as well. Indeed. Yeah, Ahsoka still has to come to the big screen. I mean, episode 5 was released on the big screen, but they have to have her in a movie because she's been around for so long, but she's never been in a movie. Still. She's been in everything else. Live action, animation, all of it. Indeed. All right, let me end this poll. Oh my God, this poll got way closer than I thought it was going to be. This poll said, which do you like more with Star Wars shows? Live action is 57% and animation is 42%. That's way closer than I thought it was going to be. That's pretty interesting. Pretty dang interesting. I do have to get on out of here, though, very soon because of I got places to be today. That's why we're streaming earlier. But there is this news that I wanted to get to when it comes to Star Wars movies. Shawn Levy turned down directing Avengers 5 so that he could focus on his upcoming Star Wars film. It's coming from Deadline. This is huge news. Shawn Levy is doing the Deadpool 3 movie right now, and Deadpool 3 is probably going to be extremely good if I were to guess. I'm going to watch it probably opening night, and I'm hoping that it's going to be really, really good for Marvel's sake. But he turned down directing Avengers 5 because he's working on a Star Wars movie. That is huge. This is what we want to hear. Star Wars should be the sort of holy grail for directors and actors in Hollywood. Actors want to be in Star Wars. Directors want to direct Star Wars. That should be the goal. That should be the biggest thing in directors and actors' careers, is being in Star Wars. That's how it was, and that's how it should remain. So this is big news. Turning down a massive Avengers movie for a Star Wars movie is huge. And Shawn Levy is a great director, so seeing him come to Star Wars, we already knew he was coming to Star Wars, but seeing what he will do with Star Wars is going to be pretty interesting. Yeah. Avengers without RDJ and Chris Evans is going to take a real hit. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw both of them in it, though. With the whole multiverse thing. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. But that's pretty big news, because we got Star Wars movies up the wazoo in the works right now, from the Mandalorian and Grogu movie that will release on May 22nd, 2026, the Rey movie, Dave Filoni's Mando movie, the Dawn of the Jedi movie, Shawn Levy's movie, Taika Waititi still technically working on a Star Wars movie. Who else am I missing? There's a few others that are sort of possibly in the works. They're rumored to be in the works. But for right now, that's a lot of Star Wars movies that are possibly in the works. And Shawn Levy not working on Avengers because he wants to work on a Star Wars movie is great news. Yeah. Okay. Where was I? Ahsoka is not going to die. Come on. She eventually has to die. She eventually has to die. Breaking Bad was an A+ from start to finish. Breaking Bad is probably one of my favorite shows of all time. Yeah. Actually, no, it's not probably. It is one of my favorite shows of all time. Yeah. Non-Star Wars, it's probably number one. For sure. Why does she have to die? Well, she can't live forever. That's sort of the reason. She can't live forever. That's a pretty big reason as to why. Okay, I do have to get on out of here, though. Huge shout out to Lauren and Sunny for the very generous super chats. I really do appreciate it. It's very, very nice. But I do have to get going. I really have to pee. Plus, I got to go anyway. So I appreciate all of you guys. This was fun. I will send that tier list to the Discord as soon as I can. Yeah. Watch out for a video maybe tomorrow, if not by Monday. And then shorts tonight, a short tomorrow, and shorts for the rest of your lives. Smash like if you have not yet. Hit subscribe and hit that bell so you get notified every time I post a video in my pretty face. Will show up in the recommended feed of yours. Yeah. I guess. We got San Diego Comic-Con coming next week. We got big announcements from D23 coming in August. Star Wars Outlaws coming in August. Skeleton Crew to end the year, and so on and so forth. So don't miss out on any of that. And may the Force be with you. Always. Oh yeah, what a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate you all more than you will ever know. This was a really fun stream. I love doing these tier lists. It's so fun. But that's it. That's wraps on the Acolyte show. We're going to be making some more videos about it because the ending was pretty wild and needs some more explaining. Go check out my explanation video from yesterday. But until the next one, until the Tuesday stream, Thursday stream, and Saturday stream for the rest of your lives, I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Great rest of your lives. And good night, everybody.